The first thing Cole Morgan felt was rage, not fear, not doubt, just pure, unfiltered rage. It burned in his chest like whiskey and settled cold in his hands. His right palm rested on the worn grip of his Colt, fingers remembering the weight. Through the brass spyglass in his left hand, he watched dust clouds rise from the valley floor. 5 riders, Blackwater gang. 3 years he'd waited for this moment. Today, he whispered to the wind, all debts get paid. The Wyoming sun beat down merciless, highlighting the scar that cut across his left cheek, a souvenir from Antietam, back when the country tore itself apart. 20 years of hard living had turned Cole's face to weathered leather, eyes sharp as a hawk's beneath the shadow of his Stetson. At 45, he'd buried more men than most undertakers, including his younger brother James. 3 years ago, James Morgan had been shot in the back by Victor Blackwood himself, former Confederate major turned outlaw. The same man who'd stolen the silver mine map that rightfully belonged to the Morgan family. A fortune that could reshape the entire territory now sat in Blackwood's blood-stained hands. Cole tracked the riders through his spyglass, watching them snake toward Redemption Springs. The town had sprung up after the Transcontinental Railroad's completion in '75, another frontier settlement built on silver dreams and cattle fortunes. Now Blackwood was headed there, likely to raid the monthly payroll delivery. Movement caught his eye. A single stagecoach kicking up dust on the main road, headed straight toward disaster. Cole cursed. The coach would intersect with Blackwood's gang in less than 20 minutes. His vengeance would have to wait. Whistling sharp, Cole called his stallion, a massive black beast named Judgment that had carried him through the war. He swung into the saddle with practiced ease, spurred hard, and thundered down the hillside. Judgment's hooves struck sparks from stone as they cut across the landscape. Wind tore at Cole's duster as he leaned low over the saddle horn, racing the devil himself. The stagecoach appeared in the distance, bouncing violently over the rutted trail. Cole cut across its path, rising in his stirrups, waving his hat overhead. "Stop! Turn back!" he shouted. The driver pulled back hard on the reins, horses rearing. Cole brought Judgment alongside, the stallion dancing sideways, nostrils flaring. "Road's not safe," Cole said, voice like gravel. "Blackwater gang's coming. 5 men, all armed. You continue, you're dead." From inside the coach, a woman's voice called out, "Driver, why have we stopped?" The door swung open. She stepped out, tall, straight-backed, dressed in a practical traveling suit. No ribbons or frills, just simple quality. Her auburn hair was pulled back severely, revealing a face both handsome and determined. She fixed Cole with piercing green eyes that took his measure in seconds. "And who might you be to make such declarations?" she asked. "Cole Morgan. And you're riding into an ambush, ma'am." "Rebecca Mitchell," she replied coolly. "And I didn't travel 1,500 miles to turn back because of rumors about outlaws." Cole's jaw tightened. "Not rumors, Mrs. Mitchell. I've been tracking Blackwood for months. He's a half hour from crossing this road, and he doesn't leave witnesses." The driver shifted nervously. "Ma'am, perhaps we ought—" "I'm expected in Redemption Springs," Rebecca cut him off. "I'm to start the school term in 2 days." Cole leaned forward in his saddle. "No school if you're dead, Mrs. Mitchell." A rifle shot cracked the air, the bullet spitting dirt near Judgment's hooves. The horse reared, but Cole held firm. 3 riders had broken away from the main group, spotted them, and now closed in fast. "Too late for turning back," Cole growled, drawing his Colt. "Driver, get Mrs. Mitchell to cover behind those rocks. Now." The driver scrambled down, but Rebecca Mitchell didn't move. Instead, she reached into her skirt pocket and withdrew a derringer, its pearl handle gleaming in the sun. "I'm not helpless, Mr. Morgan," she said, eyes hard as flint. "My father believed every woman should know how to defend herself." Cole didn't have time to be surprised. The riders were closing in, rough men with rougher intentions. He recognized Wade Dalton among them, a sadist known for collecting ears from his victims. "Behind the rocks," Cole ordered, dismounting. "That pea shooter won't stop rifle fire." Bullets peppered the ground as they scrambled for cover. Cole positioned himself behind a boulder, checked his Colt's cylinder, and waited. Patience had kept him alive through Shiloh, through Antietam, through a dozen other battles with no names. He learned early, the man who shoots first often misses. The man who shoots second often lives. 3 men, he whispered to Rebecca, who had taken position behind an adjacent rock. Wade Dalton on the left. "Don't know the others." "How do you want to play this?" she asked, surprising him again with her composure. "When I give the signal, I'll take the 2 on the right. You keep Dalton busy. Don't need to hit him. Just make him keep his head down." The outlaws spread out, circling toward their position. Cole breathed slowly, waiting for the perfect moment. "Now!" he barked, rising to one knee. His first shot caught the rightmost rider in the chest, knocking him backward off his horse. The second bullet found the next man's shoulder, spinning him around. Rebecca fired her derringer twice, forcing Dalton to dive from his saddle. Cole's third shot would have finished the second man, but pain exploded in his left shoulder as a bullet found him. He grunted, dropped back behind the rock. Blood soaked his shirt, but the wound wasn't immediately fatal. The bullet had passed through muscle, missing bone. "You're hit," Rebecca said, reloading her derringer with practiced hands. "Had worse shaving," Cole replied through gritted teeth. The remaining outlaw was still out there, and Dalton was dangerous wounded or not. Suddenly, Dalton's voice called out, "Morgan! Cole Morgan! Well, ain't this something? Blackwood's gonna pay extra when I bring him your head." Cole didn't answer, conserving strength. He nodded to Rebecca, who fired another shot to keep Dalton distracted. In that moment, Cole rolled to the edge of his cover, spotted the second outlaw trying to flank them, and put a bullet through his throat. Dalton, realizing he was alone, made a desperate dash for his horse. Cole tracked him with the Colt, but his injured arm trembled. The shot went wide. Rebecca stood, aimed carefully with her reloaded derringer, and fired. Dalton stumbled, clutching his leg, but reached his horse and galloped away. "He'll bring the others," Cole said, pressing his bandana against his bleeding shoulder. "We need to move." Rebecca approached, her face calm but concerned. "Let me see that wound first." Without waiting for permission, she pulled his shirt aside, examining the injury with clinical precision. "Clean through. You're lucky." She reached into her traveling bag and withdrew a small medical kit. With efficient movements, she cleaned and bandaged his shoulder. "You've done this before," Cole observed. "Army nurse. 3 years with the Union Medical Corps," she said, tightening the bandage. "I've seen what bullets do to men." Cole studied her face. "You served?" "Petersburg campaign mostly. Saw enough death for 10 lifetimes." She finished the bandage, her fingers lingering momentarily on his skin. "We should move. There's a cave system about 2 miles east, if I recall the maps correctly." Cole raised an eyebrow. "You know this territory." "I make it my business to know where I'm going, Mr. Morgan." She stood, wiping blood from her hands. "Just as you seem to make it yours to know who you're hunting." By nightfall, they'd reached the caves. Rebecca had surprised Cole by keeping pace without complaint, despite the rough terrain. His shoulder throbbed with each heartbeat, but he'd suffered worse. They made camp in the shelter of the largest cave, a natural fortress with a narrow entrance and high ceiling. Cole built a small fire while Rebecca prepared a poultice for his wound. The flames cast dancing shadows across the cave walls as darkness settled outside. In the distance, coyotes called to one another, lonely sounds in a lonely land. "Why are you tracking Blackwood?" Rebecca asked, grinding herbs with a small stone mortar she'd produced from her bag. Cole stared into the fire. "He killed my brother, took something that belonged to my family." "The silver mine map?" Cole's head snapped up. How do you know about that? Rebecca's hand stilled. Because that's why I'm really here, Mr. Morgan. The school position is real enough, but secondary. She met his gaze steadily. Your brother James contacted my father before he died. They were partners. The revelation hit Cole like a physical blow. James never mentioned any partner. It was meant to be quiet. My father provided the initial capital. James found the silver deposit. She resumed grinding the herbs. When your brother died and the map disappeared, my father sent me to investigate. Then he passed last winter. Cole processed this information, the pieces rearranging themselves in his mind. So you're here for the map, too. I'm here for justice, Mr. Morgan. Same as you. She applied the poultice to his wound, her touch firm but gentle. That mine represents my father's last investment. All our family has left. Cole winced at the sting of the medicine. Blackwood wants more than silver. He's building something. An army, maybe. He's got connections all through the territory. Sheriffs, judges, politicians. Rebecca secured a fresh bandage over the poultice. Then we have a common enemy. As night deepened, fever took hold of Cole. The poultice fought infection, but his body burned. Rebecca placed cool cloths on his forehead, monitored his pulse. In his delirium, memories surfaced. The war, his brother's smile, the day they discovered the silver vein high in the Wind River Range. We were going to build something good, he murmured. Not just take from the land. Schools, houses, a future. You still can, Rebecca replied, though he wasn't sure if she was real or a fever dream. If we stop Blackwood. Dawn broke with the sound of horses approaching. Cole woke with a start, his hand automatically reaching for his Colt. Rebecca was already alert, peering through a narrow opening in the rocks. 7 riders, she whispered. Blackwood's with them. Cole checked his weapon. The fever had broken, but weakness lingered in his limbs. How'd they find us? Dalton must have tracked us before his wound took him down. She pointed to a body slumped over a horse in the distance. Looks like he didn't make it. Cole peered through the gap. Among the approaching riders, one man stood out, tall, broad-shouldered, with a meticulously groomed beard, in the bearing of an officer. Victor Blackwood, former Confederate major, current scourge of the Wyoming Territory. Well, well, Blackwood's voice carried across the clearing. Sergeant Morgan, Shiloh, Antietam, and now here. Fate keeps throwing us together. Cole remained silent, assessing their options. The cave had only one entrance. Defensible, but also a potential trap. I know you're in there, Morgan, Blackwood continued. And I know about the woman, too. A school teacher, they say. Though I suspect there's more to her story. Rebecca tensed beside Cole. Here's my offer, Blackwood called. Tell me where your brother hid the other half of the map, and I'll make your deaths quick. Otherwise, he let the threat hang in the air. Other half? Rebecca whispered. Cole nodded grimly. James tore it. Blackwood only has part of the location. A new voice joined the conversation outside. Morgan, it's Deputy Jenkins from Redemption Springs. We got word of the shooting yesterday. I'm here to help. Cole's eyes narrowed with suspicion. Convenient timing. The laws finally arrived, Rebecca said, relief evident in her voice. Maybe. Cole wasn't convinced. Stay here. He moved toward the cave entrance, keeping to the shadows. Jenkins? That really you? In the flesh, Morgan. We've got these outlaws surrounded. Send the lady out first for safety. Cole studied the position outside. Jenkins stood apart from Blackwood's men, but something felt wrong. The deputy's eyes darted too much. His hand hovered too close to his gun. Rebecca, Cole whispered, there's dynamite in my saddlebag. Get it ready. Her eyes widened, but she moved immediately to the task. Cole turned back to the entrance. Coming out, Jenkins. Just need a minute for the lady to get decent. While Rebecca prepared the dynamite, Cole whispered his plan. She nodded, face set with determination. They had one chance, and both knew it. "Now, Jenkins," Cole called out, stepping into view with his hands raised. The moment he emerged, he knew his suspicion was correct. Jenkins' smile was all wrong. The smile of a predator, not a protector. The deputy's gun was already drawing. "Sorry, Morgan," Jenkins said. "Blackwood pays better than the county." A shot rang out, but not from Jenkins' gun. The deputy's chest erupted in red as Rebecca fired Cole's spare pistol from the cave entrance. In the confusion, Cole dropped, rolled, and came up firing. Two of Blackwood's men fell before they could react. The dynamite sailed through the air. Rebecca's throw, perfect. It landed among the remaining horses, the fuse sparking. The explosion wasn't large, but it was enough. Horses screamed, men scattered, and gun smoke filled the air. Cole took a bullet in the thigh, but managed to drop another outlaw. Rebecca had worked her way to a higher position on the rocks, her shots carefully placed. For a school teacher, she had remarkable aim. When the smoke cleared, 3 of Blackwood's men lay dead. The others had retreated, taking their leader with them. Cole limped back to the cave, blood soaking his pant leg. "We need to move," he grunted. "They'll be back with more men." Rebecca was already gathering their supplies. "Where to?" "There's an old Shoshone camp 10 miles north. Man named Two Hawks. He saved my life after Antietam. Taught me how to survive out here. If anyone can help us, it's him." They rode double on judgment, Cole fighting through the pain in his leg. By midday, fever returned, his wounds taking their toll. Rebecca kept him upright, one arm wrapped firmly around his waist. The terrain grew rougher, pine forests giving way to rocky highlands. "There," Cole managed, pointing to smoke rising from a hidden valley. Two Hawks' camp appeared deserted at first glance. Just a small cabin and corral nestled against the mountainside. But as they approached, an arrow thudded into the ground before them. A warning shot. "Two Hawks," Cole called out weakly. "It's Morgan." A figure emerged from the trees, an elderly Shoshone man with braided gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. He carried a bow with another arrow nocked, studying them carefully. "The army man returns," he said finally, lowering his weapon, with trouble following, as always. Two Hawks helped them into his cabin, his weathered hands moving with surprising gentleness as he examined Cole's wounds. He spoke little as he worked, applying poultices and brewing bitter medicinal teas. Rebecca assisted, her medical training complementing the old man's traditional knowledge. "Blackwood will come," Cole said through gritted teeth as Two Hawks dug the bullet from his thigh. "Let him come," Two Hawks replied calmly. "This place has seen battles before." For 2 days, Cole drifted between consciousness and delirium. When fever finally released him, he found Rebecca sitting beside his pallet, reading by lamplight. She'd shed her traveling clothes for borrowed buckskins, her hair loose around her shoulders. In the golden light, she looked like she belonged to this wild country. "You stayed," Cole observed, his voice rough from disuse. She looked up, marked her place in the book. "Did you expect otherwise, Mr. Morgan?" "Cole," he corrected. "After all this, you might as well use my name." A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "Cole, then." Two Hawks entered, carrying a steaming mug of something that smelled horrific. "Drink," he ordered, handing it to Cole. "Then we talk. Blackwood's men are searching the valleys." 20 riders now." Cole forced the bitter liquid down. "We're outnumbered." "Numbers are not everything," Two Hawks said. "The wolf pack hunts the moose not with strength, but with strategy." That night they planned by firelight. Two Hawks knew the mountains intimately. Every pass, every cave, every hidden trail. Rebecca proved herself knowledgeable in tactics, her father having been a colonel before turning to business. Cole contributed his knowledge of Blackwood, the man's habits, weaknesses, tendencies. "He'll come at dawn," Cole predicted. "He always attacked at dawn during the war." "Then we will be ready before dawn," Two Hawks said simply. They prepared through the night, setting traps, positioning weapons, creating choke points along the likely approach routes. By the time the eastern sky began to lighten, they were in position. Cole and Rebecca hidden among the rocks overlooking the valley, two hawks somewhere in the trees with his bow. The first riders appeared exactly as Cole had predicted, emerging from the morning mist like ghosts. Blackwood rode at their center, his bearing military even now. They approached cautiously, spreading out to surround the cabin. "Wait," Cole whispered to Rebecca. "Not yet." The first trap triggered when a rider crossed a hidden tripwire. A deadfall of logs crashed down, crushing him instantly. Confusion erupted among Blackwood's men. Two hawks' arrows began finding targets with unerring accuracy. Still, Cole held his fire, waiting for Blackwood to show himself clearly. "There," Rebecca whispered, pointing. Blackwood had dismounted, taking cover behind a boulder. He was shouting orders, trying to rally his men against the invisible attackers. Cole took aim with his rifle, a clear shot at 300 yards. His finger tightened on the trigger, but before he could fire, a sound behind them caused both to whirl around. Four of Blackwood's men had circled behind them, guns drawn. "Drop it, Morgan," one growled. Cole lowered his weapon slowly. Rebecca did the same with her pistol. "Blackwood wants you alive," the man said. "Can't say the same for the woman, though." Cole tensed, preparing to lunge despite the hopelessness of it, but a whisper of movement behind the outlaws caught his eye. Two hawks, silent as a shadow, knife in hand. The old Shoshone moved like a man half his age, slitting the throat of the rearmost outlaw before any could react. As the man fell, Cole surged forward, tackling another. Rebecca seized her moment, driving her knee into a third man's groin before snatching his pistol. Gunfire erupted, echoing across the valley. When it ended, three of Blackwood's men lay dead. The fourth was wounded, clutching his bleeding side. Two hawks had vanished back into the forest, continuing his deadly work elsewhere. "Where's Blackwood?" Cole demanded of the wounded man. "Headed for the cabin," the outlaw gasped. "Wanted the map." Cole and Rebecca raced back toward the overlook. Below, the battle continued around the cabin, but Blackwood was nowhere to be seen. Then smoke began to rise from the small structure. He was burning it down, likely believing the map was hidden inside. "The canyon," Cole realized suddenly. "He's making a run for the silver mine. He must have figured out the location." They scrambled down the hillside, taking a hidden trail two hawks had shown them, a shortcut to the narrow canyon where the silver deposit lay. Cole's wounds slowed him, but determination drove him forward. This ended today, one way or another. They reached the canyon entrance just as Blackwood arrived from the other direction. He was alone, his men either dead or still fighting at the cabin. For a moment, the two men simply stared at each other across 50 yards of open ground. Enemies since Shiloh, their paths constantly crossing like cursed stars. "Morgan," Blackwood called, his voice carrying the refined accent of Virginia gentry. "I wondered if you'd figure it out." Cole stepped forward, his Colt held at his side. "It ends here, Victor." Blackwood smiled, a cold expression beneath his immaculate beard. "Your brother said something similar before I put a bullet in him." He reached slowly for his own pistol. "He begged at the end, you know, whimpered like a child." Rage surged through Cole, but he forced it down. Anger made men careless, and Blackwood knew it, was counting on it. "You always did talk too much," Cole replied evenly. "It's why you lost at Antietam." Blackwood's smile faltered. His hand tightened on his gun. Rebecca stood slightly behind Cole, her own weapon ready. This wasn't her fight, but she'd made it hers. For her father, for justice, for the future redemption Springs might have. "I'm going to count to 3, Blackwood said. "Like gentlemen." Cole said nothing, his focus absolute. 1. Cole measured the distance, the wind. 2. He thought of James. of blood soaking into Wyoming soil. Before 3 could leave Blackwood's lips, a whistling sound cut the air. An arrow sprouted from Blackwood's shoulder, spinning him halfway around. 2 hawks appearing like a spirit on the ridge above. Blackwood recovered with remarkable speed, raising his pistol toward Cole. But the momentary distraction was all Cole needed. His Colt barked once, the bullet striking Blackwood squarely in the chest. The outlaw staggered backward, disbelief crossing his features. "You cheated," Blackwood gasped, blood spreading across his fine shirt. "This isn't a duel," Cole replied, approaching cautiously, his gun still trained on Blackwood's heart. "It's justice." Blackwood fell to his knees, then pitched forward onto the rocky ground. The man who had terrorized the territory, who had murdered James Morgan, who had dreamed of building his own empire on stolen silver, lay face down in the dirt. Cole stood over him, the vengeful fire that had driven him for 3 years, suddenly without fuel. He felt hollow, empty, not triumphant as he'd imagined. Rebecca approached, placed a hand on his arm. "It's over," she said quietly. 2 hawks descended from the ridge, his ancient face impassive. "One battle ends. Others will come." They buried Blackwood in an unmarked grave beneath a lonely pine. The remaining outlaws were rounded up by a legitimate posse from Redemption Springs, alerted by 2 hawks' messenger. Justice, imperfect but real, had found its way to the Wind River Range. 1 month later, Cole stood on the porch of the newly built schoolhouse in Redemption Springs. The silver mine had begun operations under joint ownership of Morgan and Mitchell, with a trust established to benefit the town's development. Inside the schoolhouse, Rebecca's voice carried clearly as she instructed the frontier children in mathematics. The badge on Cole's chest caught the afternoon sunlight. Sheriff Morgan now, by unanimous vote of the town council. His wounds had healed, leaving new scars to join the old. Some wounds never fully healed, he knew, like the loss of his brother, the memories of war. But for the first time in years, he was building rather than destroying. Rebecca emerged as the children filed out, her face brightening at the sight of him. Their relationship remained undefined. Mutual respect, shared purpose, and something unspoken that neither rushed to name. "Sheriff," she greeted him with a small smile. "Ms. Mitchell," he returned with a tip of his hat. "Thought you might like to know. Telegraph came through today. Railroads approved a proper station for Redemption Springs. Town's growing." She nodded, pleased but unsurprised. "We're building something good here, Cole, just like you and James planned." Cole looked out over the bustling main street to the mountains beyond where his brother rested. The West was changing, civilization pushing ever forward. But there would always be a need for men and women willing to stand for what was right. "A man's legacy isn't what he takes," Cole said quietly. "It's what he leaves behind." As the sun set behind the Wind River Range, painting the sky in fire and gold, a rider appeared on the distant trail. News traveled of a new gang forming to the south, led by a man claiming to be Blackwood's younger brother. Some battles end, others begin. In this wild country between honor and survival, between past and future, what would you choose when no one is watching? Cole Morgan had made his choice, and Redemption Springs would be better for it.